Yeah, that's what I've been talking about right here. No doubt.
Future Solutions, fencing outdoors. Clip of the day, man. I'm Dave Gatto. I'm your host from the East Coast, man. Burn you with the toast. Let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. This is episode number 14 of the Future Solutions Fencing Outdoor Clip of the Day podcast. My name's Dave Gatto, and I'm your host. Hey, guys, I want to talk about something today. I want to talk about the word impossible, all right? So I was reading an article or something like that, like a blog on Facebook, and somebody in there was saying that something was impossible. There were tons of people chiming in as well, backing them up and saying, yes, this is impossible, whatever the case might be. But that very thing that they were talking about, that they were saying that was impossible, I had done. And that's how it's been my whole entire life. So whenever somebody had said that something was impossible, I always questioned, impossible from whose perspective? Impossible from the perspective that you were taught or that you believe, or from my perspective? Because I believe that nothing is impossible. And that's part of the reason why I am successful. And I want to tell you guys how I came to that conclusion in my life. Now, this is a kind of a weird story, sort of off topic, but I'm going to tell it anyways because I feel compelled to tell this story that laid the groundwork of why I feel and believe the way that I believe and what led me to my success in my company. So, in 2008, guys, some of you guys might already know my life was destroyed by drugs and alcohol, my previous life. That has nothing to do with my life today. My life today is beyond my wildest dreams and amazing, right? So anyways, 2008, I'm on parole. I'm out there. I'm working at a temp agency, right? It was Labor Ready or something like that. Well, they didn't have no work for us. So me and a buddy that were at the temp agency decided that we were going to go burglarize an abandoned factory out in Wilkes-Barre, right? So we get a hacksaw, we get some tools, we bust up into this place. We're going to go in there and we're going to start removing the electrical system and some copper piping. That's what our plan was anyways. But little did we know when we broke into there that there was maintenance workers and construction workers doing construction on the next level up and had heard us break in. So, long story short, my friend gets away. I get popped. I get surrounded by a bunch of maintenance workers in there. A fight breaks out. I'm eventually subdued and taken to the ground, right? And listen, I did everything that I could to get away because I was not trying to go to jail because I was on parole. And that means I was going to get resentenced and maxed out and all that other stuff. So I did my best to get away. I couldn't. So anyways, I go to jail. And when I go to court, guys, I am given a public defender, okay? Because I have nothing. I can't afford a lawyer. And typically public defenders, I'm not saying all the time, but things don't work out that good, right? It's not like these guys are heavily involved in your case and fighting for your case. Nothing like that. So I go to court. Here's the public defender. I have like literally 2 minutes to talk to this guy. The guy smells like alcohol. He looks disheveled and calls me Pete. And my name's Dave. And I'm like, no, it's Dave. And he starts talking about somebody else's case. And I'm like, no, that's not my case. And then I came to the conclusion. I said, oh my God, I am screwed. I was like, I'm getting floored. I have zero defense whatsoever. So the DA's up there talking about what's going to happen to me. They want me to be resentenced and given the maximum penalty on the original crimes that I had gotten caught for, plus the maximum on the new burglary, which, by the way, was a felony, so I was looking at a lot of time. So the judge says to my attorney, hey, do you have anything to say for the defendant? And he says this, right? He says, well, Mr. Gatto, he's a good kid, Your Honor. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And there was silence from everybody in the courtroom. And even me, I'm thinking, what do you mean I was in the wrong place at the wrong time? As if I had just slipped on a banana peel and stumbled into a burglary or just materialized at the burglary. And I'm like, oh my God, that was really stupid, right? I was like, nothing could possibly be said that will top the stupidness of what was just said. So the judge asked me if I have anything to say before he's going to impose a sentence. So I found a way to actually say something stupider. And so I started talking, and I couldn't even believe it was me talking. And I told the judge, I said, yeah, Your Honor, I am a good kid, and I'm a full-time student in college. I told him it's my first year, and I had never been in college. Even as I was saying this, I'm like, who is saying that? I'm like, looking around like, is that me? Oh, I'm the full-time student. I'm like, this is news to me. So anyways, I said it, and then I stayed silent. And I remember the judge looking at me like this, nodding his head, right? And I think this guy has been around for a couple rodeos, right? So he didn't believe me, the judge. But what he said is okay. He said, so I'm going to withhold the sentencing. I'm going to give you immediate educational release, which is like a work release program, but for students who get incarcerated, because apparently that's a thing. There was actually like 3 people on this educational release program where I went. So he says, I'm going to re-sentence you on such and such a date. Now, this was in the end of July I got in trouble, and the college semester had started in the beginning of August. Okay, so like literally, I think a week. So he said, you're going to come back on such and such a date. I need a signed letter from the dean. I need to see your schedule, your roster, all that stuff that would say that I am a full-time student. He's like, I want you to bring your books. He's like, everything. He's like, and on that day, he's like, then I will sentence you for the parole violation and for the new charge. So, in my best look on, my best poker face. I mean, this was a game of poker. This was high stakes, man. Like, I had everything on the table. I had the college funds for the kids. I had the keys to the house, the keys to my vehicle, everything, and I wasn't even holding a pair. So I had to keep my best poker face on, and I said, okay, no problem. So now it's on. I have never been in college before, ever. I have no idea what it is. I have no idea what a semester is. I have no idea what a syllabus is, anything like that. So I go to work release. I'm given the education release program. I go see a counselor, and the counselor says, okay, you have 1 pass. It's good for 6 hours. That enables you to go, get your syllabus, get the stuff that you need to get taken care of at the college, get your books, whatever you got to do over there in the computer lab to get set up, and then you're back, and then you'll be starting your semester. Now, we do not have much time to operate at all. So I get a pass, right? It's a bus pass to go up to the Luzerne County Community College. It's the only college that I knew about that was local. So I get in this bus, and I'm heading up there. And I'm telling you, on the bus, guys, I mean, I am focused. I'm talking to everybody that I can, that's going up to the college, what semester you in, how'd you get in, what'd you do? I am laser focused. There is no time to waste, right? So they let us off the bus at the college campus, and I don't even know where I'm at. So I just sort of start walking around. I find a map on there, and it points me to the administrative building. So I'm like, okay, I need to start there. So I go into the office of the administrative building, and I say, hey, I need to sign up for the semester. And they said, are you talking about the spring semester? And I said, no, I'm talking about this semester. And they said, no, you can't do that. Everything's taken. We're not taking applications for the semester. All the classes are filled up. Now, guys, I have no money, nothing, no driver's license. I have nada, zilch, zero. I never put an application in this place, nothing. So they just turned me away, and they said, okay, you got to come back on such and such a date, and then we can talk about your semester. So I said, okay, I'm not giving up. Guys, I'm walking around the college campus, going to every single building that I can, stopping and talking to every single person that I can that's on the campus, which there wasn't many people on there at all. It was mainly staff and stuff like that, a few students taking care of things, but really, guys, there wasn't hardly anybody there. So anyways, I stumble across a computer lab, and there's a guy in the computer lab, and I started talking to him about funding, because I'm like, even if I was to get in, How am I going to get this paid for? And he's like, listen, he's like, you can go on the computer and you can do an electronic FAFSA, which stands, it's FAFSA, which stands for something financial aid, whatever. It might, federal financial aid, something like that. It's a FAFSA form that you fill out on the internet. So I get on there, he shows me how to do it, and I start filling it out to the best of my knowledge. Now, guys, I didn't have a job. I really didn't have too much, as far as in the way of figures to put in there for money earned and stuff like that. I was very irresponsible at the time. But I fill it out. I fill the blanks in with my best possible guess, and I submit the electronic FAFSA. Well, that's not going to change nothing. All I got is a successfully submitted symbol that had popped up, and we will be in touch with you, whenever. It was whatever it wasn't going to happen that day. And I needed everything to happen on this day, right? So listen, I am determined. I am not stopping. I'm going to every building, anybody that will talk to me. I'm still stopping them and talking to them. I've been told no several times. So I go back to the administrative office and said, let me give them another whirl. I go in there, no luck. They're like, dude, this ain't going to happen. Absolutely not. Everybody's in there shaking their head. No. That's all I'm hearing. No. That's impossible, right? I think we know where this story is going. So I do not give up. Now I find the counselor's office, which is a big area with multiple counselor offices in there. And in the front, there's a big oval desk, and there is a lady that is manning this desk, right? Like, it's right in front of the double doors where you got to walk in. There's no getting around this desk. So I come in there, I talk to the lady. I say, hey, I need to talk to a counselor. Because I'm like, if anybody could do this, a counselor can make this happen. So she's like, no, you're only allowed to see a counselor by appointment. I said, well, it's an emergency. I said, is there a counselor available I could talk to? She says, absolutely not, sir. She goes, here's a card. You need to call. You need to fill out an appointment here, and we'll get you an appointment with the counselor. That's how it has to work, but you can't go back there. So I leave. I'm like, okay, well, that didn't work. What do I do now, right? So I'm like, I know what I'll do. I'll sneak into the office. When she's distracted, I will walk around there like I'm supposed to be part of this office and just go back there and talk to a counselor. I'm like, if I do this at the right time, I can make it happen, because there was a wide berth between the doors and where she was actually, where her station was. So I'm like, I could get around her technically. So I do my best. I come in there, I start coming around, everything's working out pretty good, and she says, stop. And this lady's pissed, right? She already had told me to leave, and here I am now blatantly trying to sneak into the counselor's office. I got to make this happen, guys, right? So she's like, I'm going to tell you right now. She's like, if you don't leave, I'm calling security. And believe me, they were there. Out of the very little bit of people that were there, the security was present, right? So she says, I'll call security. So I said, okay. And I turn around and I leave, right? And I'm like, I can't give up. All my cards have been played at this point. All my stops. I did everything that I had possibly could have did, right? But I am not going back without this happening. So what do? I just start walking around outside, right? I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm walking around the back of the building, the front of the building. Then I see a door propped open, right? And it was propped open by one of those cigarette butt outlets, those big things that sit on the ground where you put cigarette butts in, which I've robbed at several times in the past. In my bad days, I've taken those things apart and rolled cigarettes out of the butts because I had no money. But I'm not living like that today. So anyways, the door is propped open, right? And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, that is the back door for the counselor's office, right? So I'm like, scared to go in. I'm like, they said they're going to call security. But I'm like, you know what? What are they going to do? Put me in jail? I'm already in jail. So I'm like, all right, I'm going in here. So I go in and I just start knocking on doors. Now, the hallway is flanked by doors on either side. And I'm knocking on these doors. I'm pounding on these doors, right? And eventually, somebody says, "Who is it?" So I opened the door and I said, "Hey, man," I said, "do you got a minute?" And he's like, "Sure." He's like, "Come on in," right? So now I'm in there and I'm talking to what I believe is a counselor, which in the end, this guy wasn't even a counselor. He was just using somebody's desk in there. This guy was a higher up that was in the college. His name said Patrick on his placard on his desk, but his name was not Patrick. I had heard somebody call him something else. Well, anyways, I come in there and I'm like, I say the first thing that comes to my head. I said, "Would you like the door open or closed?" He said, "Close it." So I close the door and I sit down and I can see the guy studying me. He's thinking, I could see the gears turning in his head and he's going, "How did this guy get in here?" He's like, "What's going on here?" But the guy had a look of amused skepticism on his face, right? And I said, "Listen, I'm talking to myself and I'm saying, do not lie to this guy. Tell him everything." Right? And I'm like, "What do you got to lose, Dave?" "Nothing. This is the last card you got to play for the impossible card." Right? So I tell him, I said, "Hey, man, listen." I said, "I snuck back here. I don't have an appointment." I said, "I had lied to a judge and told him that I was a full-time student in college, and he pulled my card, and I have got to be a full-time student in college for this semester because I'm getting resentenced." I said, "It's always been my dream to be in college. I just never knew how to do it. I never had enough money to do it." And the guy was just sort of looking at me. And he goes, "Man," he goes, "that's the most honest thing I think I've heard in my whole entire life." I mean, I just laid it all out for this guy. And I sat there, and he sat there, and we were looking at each other. And he said, "What would you like to go to school for?" And I said, "Business." And I didn't know where that came from, guys. I never thought that I would be in business and have a successful, 8-figure company like I do today. So I said business, right? So the guy pulls up my name, and he can see on there that I have filled out a FAFSA form electronically and named Luzerne County Community College as the college, right? Because they got access to that kind of stuff. So he's looking at all that stuff, and he goes, "We could probably make this work." He said, "You won't get the funding now," but he's like, "The funding would come through, although it would come through late." So he starts going through the classes, right? And he goes, "Listen," he goes, "there's not much open." He goes, "But I could stick in some classes." He goes, "because some of these people will be dropping out in the beginning of the quarter, halfway through the quarter. Some of these people won't show up." He's like, "So I'm just going to put you in some of these classes." And he put me in classes that were booked full. And the guy was back there. I mean, he was just working. He was pounding away at the keyboard. This guy was a mover and shaker. So anyways, right? And I could see the screens. I could see in his glasses all these screens going up and down. And the guy's doing his thing. He's working, talking to himself, saying things like, "Oh, this class is full. This one's not. I can move a couple people around in here." And this guy's making it happen, right? So he's like all done, right? And I can't believe this is happening. So the guy, me and him, we get up. He's like, "Come on." He's like, "Let's go down to the administrative building." The one twice that I was told no and that it was impossible to get in for the semester. He says, "Let's go down there." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening." So we go up through the hallway, and now I'm in the counselor's office with the lady at the front desk who had told me that if I tried to get back there again, she was going to call security. Now here I am coming out of the back of the office, right? Here I come, and she jumps up on her feet, and the guy, we're going to call him Patrick because that's what it said his name was. He's like, "I got this." And she just sat right back down. I looked at her, right? And it was that look, like I outmaneuvered you. It was the checkmate when you put somebody in check on the chessboard, right? Well, anyways, so I'm walking on air, guys. I'm like, this guy's got me. And, but I'm still a little nervous that something's going to happen. Like, this might not go down. So then he brings me down to the administrative building where they had told me it was impossible and said, "Here's this guy's schedule. Put everything into the system, and we're good to go." And the lady started to talk, but stopped talking. Some words came out, although they weren't complete words. And she just kind of looked at me and reluctantly started pounding away things on the keyboard. And everybody in that office had looked at me. It was a bunch of cubicles that were in there, and everybody just like, what just happened here, okay? Maybe they were starting to rethink their ideas of what impossible was. So anyways, me and Pat, we go into the next building, which is the office, like where all the financials are handled in there. And he hands in a piece of paper, and he says, get this guy on here. So they put me on there. They say the bill that it's going to be, and it's a big bill. And the guy's like, it's taken care of. So this guy basically said that he's going to push me through on his word with no money exchanged, right? He's going to push me through, and when the money comes, they will take it from the fast food. So I don't know if this guy was like the vice president or the president of the college, but I couldn't believe this was happening. And they came up to me and they said, do you need a bookstore account? And I said, yes. And I didn't know what that meant. So they told us to go up to security. We go up to security. They print me out a student ID up there. I got the student ID. They take my picture, all that stuff, right? Now I go to the bookstore, and I'm picking out all these books, and there was a guide in there that says, okay, you're a business administrations, you got, English 101, you got this, you got that. And then I get all these books, right? And they're thousands of dollars. And I see people coming out of their pocket in line with money and credit cards, and I don't got nothing, right? Pat's gone at this point, or whoever he was. He's gone. I mean, I get everything, man. I get a book bag, the calculators, the books, the notebooks, the pens, the pencils, the protractors, everything that I need to do my course, and I am just so happy, right? So I go up to the register, and it was a lot of money. And they're like, how would you like to take care of it? And I said, I have a bookstore account. I said, let me see your ID. I gave my ID. They scanned it, printed me out a receipt, guys, and I went on the bus back to Educational Release with a full book bag of scholastic books for my business administration course. I had done the impossible, and I was now a full-time student starting in just a couple days. So right there, guys, that revised my definition of what impossible was. And to that day, today, and how I started my business, I don't ever listen to the word impossible, nor do I allow it to affect me when somebody says no. Because I'm telling you guys, that was the word of the day that day, was no and impossible. And I did it. And there's a lot of other stories I guarantee that are like that. So with that all being said, guys, little bit of inspiration for you. I hope you enjoyed my story. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, if you got something out of it, like it, subscribe to it, and share it, guys.
Yeah, that's what I've been talking about right here. No doubt.
Future Solutions, fencing outdoors. Clip of the day, man. I'm Dave Gotti. I'm your host from the East Coast, man. Burn your toast. Let's go.